This video was produced by HM Customs Excise in April 1995. It doesn't contain information about any changes in the value-added tax law since that date, unless specifically mentioned.
So, you've just set up your own business, possibly a shop or maybe an engineering company, and no doubt you've been given lots of advice on how to go about it and how to keep your accounts and pay your taxes. Some of that advice was probably about value-added tax. You've no doubt heard stories about the paperwork and the complicated forms that you have to fill in. But do you really know what it is and what's involved? Let's start with what value-added tax is and its importance to Britain's economy. What's the next stage now, Roy?
Well, I'm going to put the end on here, then it's a matter of turning it over, making sure it fits the box, and then it's upstairs to the spray shop.
I'll let you get on then.
All right, love.
In order to pay for all the services that the government funds, such as hospitals and schools, the Chancellor has to raise money, either through borrowing or from different forms of taxation. Over recent years, VAT has played an increasingly significant part in providing funds for government expenditure. In 1993, a quarter of money raised through taxation came from VAT. VAT is a tax on imports and on the sales of most goods and services. The tax is applied every time goods or services are supplied until final sale to the retail customer. If you're in business in any way, supplying goods or services or both, you may be required to be registered for VAT if your turnover is more than a set limit.
VAT is a tax on goods, services and imports.
When you buy goods or services for your business, you pay VAT on them. This is called input tax, with certain exceptions, such as purchases for personal rather than business use. This tax can be claimed back from Customs and Excise when you complete your VAT return. When you sell your product or provide a service to your customers, if those goods or services are liable to VAT, you have to add VAT to your selling price. This is known as output tax, which has to be paid to Customs and Excise.
So remember, VAT on purchases is called input tax, and VAT on sales, output tax.
In general, VAT is chargeable on all goods and services in the UK, including those supplied by charities. The only time this doesn't apply is if your product or service is zero-rated or exempt from VAT. Examples of zero-rated supplies are children's clothing, most food but not catering, public transport, books and newspapers. Examples of exempt supplies are education, NHS services and certain financial services. Ask your VAT inquiry office if you're in any doubt as to whether you should charge VAT on the supplies you make. Remember, they're there to help you and are always happy to give advice free of charge. You'll find the number in the phone book under Customs and Excise. So, your input tax is the VAT you pay on goods and services coming into your business, your purchases. Output tax is the tax you charge your customers on the goods and services going out of your business, your sales. What you actually pay to Customs and Excise is the difference between the tax on the goods and services you've bought for your business and the tax on those you've sold. When you registered for VAT, your local office would have sent you a starter pack. This contains all the basic information you'll need. Now remember to keep this for future reference. The next thing you'll have to think about is how to fill in your first VAT return, which you should receive within 2 to 5 months. After the initial one, most businesses will receive returns every quarter. Now, is filling in a VAT return really as complicated as you think? Said, how difficult is it to fill in a VAT return?
Well, as this is only a small business, I complete the VAT return and do all the accounts myself. I actually find it's quite easy to complete, as long as you have kept good clear records of all your purchases and sales and income during the period of the return, and that you have recorded the VAT in your VAT account.
Is this the sort of paperwork that most businesses would have?
Yes, apart from the VAT account, all of these records are the standard commercial records you'd keep to manage your business.
Now tell me about the boxes here. What do you have to complete?
Well, boxes 1 to 5 are for the amount of VAT owing during the return period and the amount you wish to reclaim as input tax. And boxes 6 to 9 are for the values of your sales and purchases, excluding any VAT.
Right. What if you have problems filling in the return? Say you're a retailer who doesn't issue invoices for your sales.
There are several special schemes available for retailers who sell at VAT-inclusive prices based on their stocks, purchases and takings. Retailers should contact their local VAT inquiry office should they have any problem. There they will find plenty of free information and advice. I mean, they are there to help you after all.
So the form is easier than you thought, and there's free help available if you need it. But don't forget to use the addressed envelope to make sure your return and payment reach Customs and Excise on time. That way you avoid having to pay a penalty. Payment through your bank is also available. Just ask your local VAT inquiry office for details.
Boxes 1 to 5 are for the amount of VAT owing during the period and the amount you're reclaiming as input tax. Boxes 6 to 9 are for the values of your sales and purchases, excluding any VAT. Remember, sending in your return and payment on time avoids paying a penalty.
When you get a phone call from Customs to arrange for a VAT visit, don't worry. They make thousands of routine visits every year. The visit gives Customs a chance to see that you're keeping your records properly and confirm that the tax declared on your return is correct. It also gives you a chance to ask questions about anything you don't understand. The officer who contacts you to arrange for a visit will tell you what records you need to have ready and anything else that they need to see.
So I've got next Wednesday free, that's the 14th.
When they make appointments for visits, Customs always try to arrange a date and time when it's most convenient for you. Now, I know there's a VAT visit taking place at this cafe right now, so I'm going to go in and find out what's happening.
Assumed it was all in the same year and I've just booked something for the 4th and it would be that.
Jenny,
year.
hello. Is it a good moment to interrupt?
Yes, it's fine.
Great. Well, it all looks very well organised here. What sort of records should you have available for a VAT visit?
Well, it's important to keep records of all your purchases or input tax, plus copy bills or till rolls of your sales and your daily gross takings. You'll be able to work out your output tax from these. In fact, you keep all the records you'd normally use to keep track of your business.
Is there anything else that Customs like to see?
Yes, they like to see bank statements, annual accounts, those sort of things. But they normally tell you by phone in advance of a visit exactly what you should have available. Well, it's easy if you keep your books up to date.
So how often are you likely to get a visit?
Well, you may get a visit soon after you first register for VAT, just to make sure you're doing things correctly. Or you might not get a visit for a few years. It depends on whether you put your returns in and pay on time. Also, how large or complex your business is becoming.
At the end of the visit, does the officer tell you if everything's okay?
Yes, the officer will go through it with you clearly and point out any mistakes you might have made. If you're in any doubt afterwards, then you should ring back the officer who first visited you and ask them to explain it again. If the officer finds you've underpaid, you'll be sent an assessment. On the other hand, Customs do refund money if they find you've overpaid. But the easiest way to avoid having to pay a penalty or an assessment is to make sure that you pay the right amount of VAT on time.
Thanks, Jenny. Thank you. Well, that doesn't sound too complicated either. Providing you keep your books up to date, remember to include only your purchases for your business, and you don't leave your books until the last minute.
You'll need to supply purchase invoices, input and output tax records, copy sales invoices, till receipts and daily gross takings records, your VAT account, plus bank statements and annual accounts.
If If you deal mainly with invoices and not cash transactions, one problem you may come across is late payment. Let's have a chat with this builder and find out what you can do when you can't pay the VAT that's owing because it's still owed to you by your customers. Alan, I understand you've had a few problems with customers paying you late. Now, what do you do when it comes to paying the VAT?
Well, the best thing to do is to contact your local VAT office and discuss the problems with them. You may be allowed to make flexible payments over a period of time.
Anything you can do to make that easier?
Yes, there are a couple of schemes that small businesses who aren't retailers may find useful. One of these is the cash accounting scheme. This allows you to account for VAT on the basis of payments you actually receive rather than on the invoices you've issued. This can be very useful if you provide extended credit to customers. If you don't use the cash accounting scheme and you account for VAT on the basis of invoices issued, you may be entitled to claim bad debt relief.
Can you get more advice about that?
Yes, businesses should ask their local VAT inquiry office for details. They'll give you this leaflet and answer any questions you might have.
That looks useful. You mentioned there were two schemes, a couple of schemes. What's the other one?
Well, there's also an annual accounting scheme which allows the business to make one VAT return a year. With this scheme, you make 9 payments of a set amount during the year. If at the end of the year you're in credit, customs pay you back the difference. But, of course, if you're not in credit, you pay customs what's owing. There's also a couple of special schemes which apply if you're selling second-hand goods. But it's best to contact your local VAT office if you want more information about these.
The cash accounting and annual accounting schemes may help small businesses with cash flow. The cash accounting scheme for small businesses allows you to account for VAT on the basis of payments you receive. The annual accounting scheme allows small businesses to choose to submit only one VAT return per year.
There is one last thing to mention. If your business changes in any way, say you've moved to new premises or you change from being a sole proprietor to a partnership, you should write to your local VAT office. If for any reason you want to cancel your VAT registration, maybe your turnover has dropped or you've decided to sell your business, ask for one of these leaflets and complete the form in the back. It's very straightforward with only a few questions to answer. So, there you are. VAT isn't as complicated as you first thought. We've dealt with a few examples of some of the VAT issues. There are more complex areas which you may need to discuss with customs. But remember, there's plenty of free advice to get you started. All you need to do is contact your local VAT inquiry office. The address is in the phone book under Customs and Excise.
If you're in business, you'll need to know about a number of other things, such as PAYE and national insurance contributions. For further advice, please see the leaflet which is enclosed with this video.